When it comes to partaking in a hobby like this, having a budget is a very smart thing to do. It can be very easy to get out of control and start having that snowball effect when it comes to buying and exploring and discovering a bunch of new fragrances, oftentimes in full bottle form. And trust me, I know firsthand from experience here. My collection started off strong and hasn't really slowed down since. In fact, it's continued to snowball. The more I've accumulated, it's almost like the faster they just keep coming in. And really, it's because I buy every new release because I have a channel here and I like to cover that stuff. And also, I'm just trying to work my way backwards as well, being that I had kind of a late start. You know, I haven't been around doing this for 20 years or anything like that. So I've really had to work and kind of add a lot of older scents to my collection as well. So this has taken a lot of time and a lot of money. Don't expect to build up any sort of collection in a short period of time. You know, this type of thing, it's something that you've got to work at. And also, like I've said before, I don't condone building up a huge collection like this. I mean, this is completely ridiculous. You know, if you're able to work yourself into, 20, 30, 40 bottles, I would say you're doing very good, and that's more than enough. But I digress. If you're on a budget, it's good to stick to it. Every now and then, if you want to kind of try to decide what your next purchase should be, these are some options you could go for, and I think you're going to be very happy with them. And these are also some scents where if you end up kind of going over budget by a few dollars or something like that to add any of these to your collection, I think once you get them in and try them out, you're not going to regret it at all. And so, like I've always said, the best way to save money and to shop smart is to shop through discounters. So any prices that I reference here in this video will be discounter prices. They will be linked down below. Let's get things kicked off with Valentino Uomo Intense. This one's got iris, of course. You get a little bit of a chocolatey accord in here. Most notably, you get some leather. That's what I like so much about this compared to, Dior Homme Intense, Gentleman Eau de Parfum, is the leather accord. It's rich, it's textured, it's a little bit earthy, but not too much. Really nice addition. Ultimately, I think that's what gives Valentino Uomo Intense its character. I think that's one of the main things that makes it stand out among those other heavy-hitting iris scents. And this stuff is breathtaking. It's fantastic. It's smooth, it's silky, it's sweet, it's addicting. This one on discounters, you're going to be up into the lower 100s for this one. So it's not something that's super cheap. It's something that you got to, pony up for. It's kind of pretty close to the price of Dior Homme Intense nowadays. I think it used to be less, but now the price on this one has gone up a little bit as well. Regardless of that, I still think it's worth picking up. It is definitely a must-have, great one to spend your money on. Next up, we have Carolina Herrera Mystery Tobacco. This one here has, of course, a lot of tobacco. You get some patchouli as well. I've kind of described this one as being kind of similar to red tobacco a little bit, Mancera red tobacco, although it's not as over the top. It doesn't have the oud. It's not quite as overpowering and in your face. I find this one to be significantly more easy to wear in a variety of situations. I think it also is more mass pleasing, so your likelihood of wearing this one out and about and getting some really positive feedback on it is higher with this compared to red tobacco. The performance is also on par with that Mancera as well. Both have amazing performance. And this isn't me hating on or dissing red tobacco either. I love it. It's a great scent. I would say that it's not for everybody, and I think this will reach a broader variety of people. However, that does come with a cost. This is about double the price of red tobacco, a little bit more than double on discounters even. And so that's something you got to keep in mind as well. For me, this one is a no-brainer. I love it, but I also love and am partial to tobacco forward scents. I love them, tobacco scents, iris scents, things like that. I love them, and don't have any complaints at all with a lot of the ones that I have. In fact, most of them that I do, I love them and haven't really regretted spending any amount of money on them. And this is another one where it lives up to its expectations for me. The quality is amazing, presentation is great, performance is great. It's similar enough to where you will kind of have an understanding of what you're getting yourself into, but it's also different enough to where it's not overly redundant either. Regardless of that, if you're looking for that next amazing, hard-hitting tobacco scent for your collection with a good amount of versatility, check this one out. Next up, we have Armani Code Parfum. So this one also introduces some iris, and with that comes the original Armani Code DNA, the tonka bean, the lavender, all of that stuff. Very prominent on those accords there, and I like it a lot, actually. I'm kind of to the point now where my opinion is that the original Armani Code EDT is not a must-buy anymore. They just re-released it in a bottle very similar to this now, and that's great, you know, but I think you have many other options that are far superior, like the Parfum, like the Eau de Parfum, and if you could get your hands on Profumo or Absolute, all of those are miles ahead of the original EDT DNA nowadays. There was a point where that was all you could get. There were no other flankers, and it was great, and it still is a great scent. But if you're looking to buy Armani Code in 2023 going into 2024, buy the EDP or the Parfum. Between the EDP and the Parfum, I would take the Parfum, but the EDP is no slouch either. Uses a lot of vanilla and suede. It's a great one as well, but I really like the delivery and the execution of this one here. Just the iris is not all that strong like in the big iris scents, the Valentino, the Dior, and things like that, the Givenchy as well. So it's not to that level. It's more of a supplementary note here to kind of give the DNA a little bit of a facelift and more of a modern refresh. Very well done, great scent, coming in at a Parfum concentration. It has good performance as well. Next up, we have Guerlain L'Homme Ideal Eau de Parfum. You know, this one on average is around, I don't know, I think testers for like $85 to $90, and then, I don't know, 100 mils for roughly around 100, somewhere in that range. The testers you can usually get for a pretty good discount, and they do come with the cap, and that is when they're in stock, of course. I know FragranceNet had them for a while. They might be sold out now. But we're to the point now where this one and the Extreme are pretty consistently in stock on a lot of the discounters. So that's a big bonus, especially here going into winter time. If you've been wanting to get this or the Extreme, get it now while you can. This one's got cherry, almond, vanilla, fantastic scent that you've heard described before, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. All I can tell you is it's another one that's incredibly unique. If you want to stand out, you don't want to smell like every other guy that's walking down the street, walking into the restaurant, the bar, whatever, you've got to go for something like this because it's not on that mainstream level, you know, like a lot of these other scents out there. And so you can wear this one and you're going to stand out big time compared to a lot of the Eros, 1 Million, and Invictus and all that stuff. This is a really good way to kind of, I don't know, just take it to the next level, but without spending really any more money than any of those other guys. I mean, this is right around $100 or a bit less. Very reasonable, and that's about what everything else retails for. And a lot of the guys out there who are just going into the store and buying stuff and wearing it are buying at retail as well. That was kind of hard to get out. And so this one, for the money, you can't beat it. I think everybody should have a vetiver forward scent in their collection, and this is one that I would recommend. It is John Varvatos XX Artisan, or is it Artisan XX? It's XX Artisan. I always forget which way it goes. 125 ml. The price has finally worked its way down to about $40. So it's been a bit of a process, you know. I obviously am always on the hunt for deals and everything like that, which, by the way, sign up to my mailing list, my texting list. You won't regret it. I'm always on the hunt for rare stuff. So I have a good idea and understanding of what prices should be at. And so this one, when it was new, of course, retails for like $80, still does retail for that. Hit discounters, and it wasn't, you know, at the best price. It was at about $60 for the longest time, 125 ml on the discounters, which is better than 80, but it's still not where it should be. Now, finally, I would say within the past few months, I've noticed that it has pretty consistently settled around about $40, which is about right on target for most John Varvatos. Maybe it could go a touch lower, and it might, but now it's kind of into that range where it should be. And for $40, this is a fantastic buy. It's got vetiver, of course. It has bitter orange. You get a lot of the other tropes of the original Artisan, so just some of the aromatics as well. But that bitter orange especially is what really ties it back to just the OG Artisan. Smells fantastic, fruity, uplifting, fresh, a little bit sour, has a nice kick to it. But the vetiver is a nice soapy, clean vetiver. Makes this one super easy to wear for a variety of situations that you would encounter. I mean, this is something you can wear into wintertime if you wanted to. Anytime where you just want to smell clean, fresh, and presentable, you can go for this one. I think it has a lot of use abilities, and it's one I do recommend. And also, it should go without saying, but that one's not going to be something that's going to break your budget too bad. Less than $50, it is a fantastic buy. And kind of going back up to the $100-ish range, we have Bottega Veneta Pour Homme Extreme, 90 ml. It's an eau de toilette. Pine needles and woods. Smells like a lumberjack. Smells like fall, a guy wearing a flannel out there chopping firewood. I mean, that's what it is. It is more of a traditionally masculine, woody, spicy, strong scent. You know, it's amazing. It's a nice reset. That's kind of what I called this one, my reset button. When you're so used to smelling a lot of the new style scents, which consist of a lot of sweet notes or ambroxan or anything of that sort, which I do like, by the way, it gets to the point where it is a little bit monotonous. You can go for something like this, spray it on and wear it. It's a totally different experience. They're not releasing stuff like this anymore. And so again, you know, around $100 on discounters, it's up there, you know, and for me, I was a little bit hesitant to pay that much for this and the original and a few of the other ones I bought when I was first getting into them. But after I got it for the first time and tried it, I was sold immediately and knew I made the right choice. So one I do recommend if you're after something a little bit more old school, but with a modern twist. Now this next one can be a little bit hard to find sometimes. I do recommend just being on the lookout for it if you're interested at all. And this is the type of thing where when it pops up, I do send out an email and a text along with, again, anything else that's hard to find. So as long as you're on the list, you shouldn't have too much of a problem getting one for yourself at some point. But it's Pure XS Night by Paco Rabanne. It's got caramel, it's got ginger, it's got some ginseng as well. Incredibly spicy off the opening, like to the point where if you're not prepared for it and you're not bracing yourself for it, it might startle you. I remember the first time I smelled this one. I can remember exactly where I was back in my old recording setup. And again, I remember trying it for the first time, smelling that opening, and I was like, you know, wow, that is potent. And still, when I smell that opening, whether it's up in the air or on skin, it's enough to where if you get it close enough, it'll make you sneeze. It'll almost make your eyes water. Like, it is powerful off the top. And I don't want that to scare anyone away. This dries down to a silky smooth caramel and sweet tonka scent. So it is great in the dry down, but that opening definitely gets your attention for better or worse. Depends on kind of where you fall in terms of your tolerance for a spicy opening. So it does pass pretty quick. I think a lot of people won't make it past the opening. They might not give it a fair chance, which is fine. It's more for us who like this. But this is something from Paco Rabanne that is truly a really nice work of art in the sense that it's a little bit more unique. It's not mainstream. It's not cookie cutter. Like they were onto something here. Of course, it's discontinued, or at least it's very hard to find now. So be on the lookout for it. If you have the chance to buy it, I would buy it. Worst case, if you don't like it, you can just sell it probably for what you paid for it or a bit more, and you're going to be good. But I think a lot of you guys who have a similar taste to me would really enjoy this one. Now this next one isn't really breaking the budget too bad either. It's right around $50-ish or so. Pictured here is going to be the old style bottle, but the new bottle is what you should just buy on discounters or whatever. Just get that because the differences between them are very minor. But it's the original CH Men. So CH Men Privé, in my opinion, is the better of the two, but it is discontinued. It's very hard to find. Actually did pop up recently. I sent out a notification on it, like $80-ish for a tester, 100 mil. But I'm not going to really feature that because very rare for that one to pop up. When it popped up this past week or two ago, that was the first time I've seen it in stock for probably the better part of a year. So definitely crazy to see that. But the original here has sugar. It has grass, which is very interesting. It's a little bit fresh, kind of ozonic-ish, a little tiny bit. But then it has this kind of green, sugary sweetness and this interesting texture about it. The leather in here, so it does use leather, if I didn't mention that. is going to be smoother and fresher, more of like an ombre leather style of leather, whereas the leather in CH Men Privé is a little bit more rugged, more of like a leather jacket, rougher type of leather. So this is definitely a little bit more smooth and easygoing, but it still is amazing and super unique. There are a few fragrances out there that kind of try to go in a similar vein as this one, but this is kind of where it started, and it really stands out a lot. Not a huge expense, but it's worth having around, and these days, you just don't hear too much love for CH Men anymore, and it's a shame because it's awesome. Okay, we're going to end the video with 2 new releases as of this year. Both of these have hit discounters now, so you're able to get them for normal prices. It happened pretty quick. The first one is Le Male Elixir. So this one has some tobacco, some honey, and then of course your vanilla tonka lavender package that's pretty prominent within the whole line for the most part, but especially carries over from Le Male Parfum. So the tobacco honey is the addition here, something new about it. Kind of puts you in that Naxos DNA. Now, it doesn't smell like Naxos. It's not a clone of Naxos, but it just kind of gives you that similar impression. Something that is a little bit more elegant and rich and high-end. And that's something that I really like about this one, because generally the Le Male line is looked at as being a little bit more young and playful and all of that stuff. They've kind of started to change it around or turn it around with Le Male Parfum. And with this one, this is like the max premium level of Le Male flankers that we've had up to this point. And it even shows with the presentation. They really went all out. Very cool. Get a bigger pull ring here. Nice attention to detail. You can see the juice level within these little windows there. Very sharp, very nice. Definitely premium, and it's a Parfum. Great performance out of it, great quality. This might be one of the best releases of 23. Worth checking out. It's another one that will pop up from time to time for below retail. I send out notifications. I recommend getting on the list for that because you don't want to pay retail when you can get it for less. And last up, Y Eau de Parfum Intense. It takes away the, for some, dreaded sweetness of the EDP and the Parfum. Others of you like that. I don't mind it, but there are times where it is too sweet, and this one eliminates that problem. So there's no apple. Instead, it focuses on the aromatics that are used in all of the others, the sage and all of that, getting some with the lavender. You still get the amberwood here as well, so it has some of that blue fragrance kind of characteristics going on, but it's fresher, it's cleaner, it's a little bit soapier as well. Just doesn't have that sweetness, which and heat can be overpowering depending on what type of event you're wearing it to. It can make it smell a little bit more young or casual smelling. Not to say that this is super upscale. It's not like a Bleu de Chanel or anything like that, but it is a little bit more grown up smelling than all of the others. And I think it is a fantastic flanker that's worth picking up. Because it lacks that sweetness, I also think it might be one of the most versatile ones yet. Alrighty guys, there you have it. That is some fragrances that are worth kind of blowing your budget on. If you're on a budget and you're wanting to see what your next purchase should be, look into some of these. Links will be down below. Deals will be going out to my mailing and texting list. You can find those down below. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.